Welcome to More Action, the podcast for entrepreneurs, business owners, and professionals. I'm your host, Shelly Bryan, and together we have candid conversations with industry leaders to uncover valuable wisdom and lessons learned. My hope is you use these lessons to intentionally take more action in business and life. I hope you share and enjoy. I recently heard something on another podcast that I listened to, and I had to come in here, dig a little deeper, and share some thoughts with each and every one of you. And it's all relating to your mindset. You know, if you've been here for a while, or if you haven't, if we've connected on social media, my mindset, growing my mindset has been the single best thing that I have done for my career, our business, as a mother, as a wife. And I heard this terminology called a beginner's mindset. And I had to dig in a little bit more. Now, if you're new here to the show, welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. We are about taking more action, but it's like listening to these little cues, and that's what I try to share here. So it's these little cues that encourage you or maybe pique your curiosity that you want to go learn more about. And it all stems from like an email that I got, oh gosh, maybe like a month ago. I follow Cody Sanchez, and she sends out her contrarian email. And there was something in there about this gentleman named Sam Zell. I honestly don't remember the rest of the email, but I was like, who the heck is Sam Zell and why did he earn a spot in this email? She has a huge email list. So I started digging more and more, and I came across the Founders podcast with Dave Senra. And I just saw that he actually had lunch with Sam Zell and, was able to he reads books essentially, and then and a lot of biographies, autobiographies on just great people in history, business, and all the things, and goes through it. And I'm like such a reader and always looking to improve. So I just really fell in love with this new podcast. I only listened to a few, of course, besides this one. So I'll definitely link it in the show notes below. But this Sam Zell, I was like, who the heck? If you're in real estate, I assume you're probably like, Shelly, how the hell do you not know who Sam Zell is? He's huge into real estate and has been for many, many decades. The episode, I'm going to just link again at the bottom that I listened to, this Founders podcast with Dave Senra. It was episode 367, and he talks about the contrarian mind of Sam Zell. And so, of course, like I said, I started doing all the research, learning more and more, and it made me think about, beginner's mindset. How often do I have that? How much am I embracing that? What does that mean? All of the things. And it also got me thinking about Simon Sinek's book, The Infinite Game, where he talks about having an infinite mindset or a finite, right? It's about playing these different types of games and what one you are doing. And as a business owner, and truly just even as a leader, as a parent, all of these things, I start thinking about this and I'm like, all right, how can this beginner's mindset help me, and why does it matter? And just to define it for you, this is how Sam Zell defines that beginner's mindset. It's approaching situations with curiosity, openness, and a willingness to learn, even as if you're new in the field, even when you're an expert. I think that's something that is really kind of the little piece of gold there, is that we, in all the things that we do, we become experts. But how often in your expert field are you approaching it like you're brand new, to learn, to ask, instead of you being the one leading, asking someone else to take you through their experience? And so just to kind of give you a little bit back, this is the briefest of brief stories of Sam Zell. Essentially, he has just conquered the real estate game, had some really tough failures, the business game, but he truly is a contrarian in the sense that he does not care what anybody thinks about him. He has done some of the largest deals and has made just like an incredible impact on the specifically the commercial real estate industry, and just continues to even now. And so it's a critical thing when you think about that beginner's mindset, because when you're new at something, there's a few things that happen, right? Is you see you're maybe uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good. You second guess yourself. Maybe you're a little quiet. You turn a little introverted because it's new, it's beginning, it's uncomfortable. There's risks associated with it. And that's where Sam always like took a step forward. Instead of letting the beginner's mindset and that fear stop him, he actually took a step forward. And, I started thinking about, this beginner's mindset because ultimately it encourages creativity, innovation, because you're not limited by like those past experiences, those past beliefs. I talk about this a lot, like what stories are you telling yourself versus the beliefs that you have versus what's truth, right? You don't limit yourself to the past. You're only looking forward. And I really love that beginner's mindset. And it got me thinking about yet again when, I encourage you to go back and listen to some of the episodes, but I have a very, I guess, untraditional career path when I didn't get into one industry and stay in that in my entire life. Now, I was raised that way. I was 100% raised that way. But I got to this point where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't like this anymore, or I'm bored. Okay. That was like the things. And instead of staying there, I stayed in one industry for about 16 years. But before and after that, I definitely changed. And here I am again a few years ago where I transferred all of my attention over to our construction company. And again, I go to these networking events and it is uncomfortable because I haven't been in construction for 20 years like a lot of these other people that I'm in the industry with. And it's so funny because I have such a renewed sense of excitement about it and how we are building this company that it's like I see right through all kind of like the people that have completely shut down that beginner's mindset and just are like doing the things, cranking the wheel. This is the way that we've always done it. And so I think about like me coming into the construction industry in a forward facing position. I've always been involved, but behind the scenes. And it's like, okay, I don't know everything about it. I do know how to run a business. I do know how to build a team. I do know how to do these things that help our business ultimately. But construction, nope. Am I good at reading a set of plans? Not great. But I'm learning. And it's so exciting to kind of have this beginner's mindset to be like, okay, what new can I learn? How can I apply this? Can we do this? Is this allowed? I worked in highly regulated like financial and pharmaceutical industries where construction, there's a lot of gray. I mean, yes, we follow state guidelines and rules, and we have plans and like almost instructions to follow, but there's so much that is in the gray area. And if you're watching this or on YouTube, I hope you subscribe. Don't forget you do that there. But like gray area is like air quotes because I'm like, it's something that I had never been good at. Chris, I always talk about, is so good at operating in the gray because it makes you find solutions. You don't have a specific thing that you can do. Like X does not always equal Y. And so you have to figure out like, okay, what solutions? How can we do this with the regulations, with what's already in building code, all these different things, where before I was like, you do step one, step two, step three, step four. And so it's pushed me where I'm like, I feel so uncomfortable. I don't get it. I don't understand. I've done so much listening in the last several years that it's actually just, I think, sparked this like beginner mindset. And the other thing is that you get to challenge the status quo. When people start saying, um, that's the way it's always been done. I mean, that's the first way to piss me off. I'll tell you that. So if you are coming to work with us, do not say that. That will not thrive here in this culture that we have, because there is always a way to learn and to grow. So kind of just wanted to share a little bit about that beginner's mindset and give you some framework around it. But I also want to touch on, and I've done episodes on this. I'll go back, I'll find the exact episode and link it in the notes, but on having a finite mind versus an infinite mind, right? And this is what I'm referring to, The Infinite Game with Simon Sinek. This is a great book, highly recommend for any leaders, anyone that's career driven, owning a business, just opening up the way that you approach things. And just to give you kind of a quick overview of this, you can see how I'll be able to tie these two together. And I want you to stay all the way to the end because I'm going to give you some questions that are really meant to, it's so funny, Chris hates the word challenge you, but they are. Because if we aren't challenging ourselves to grow, we're going to stay stagnant. We get bored, we get disgruntled. That's where you get burnout. Like all of these things happen. So these questions are meant to really stop you and make you think. So stay all the way to the end. But so just to kind of separate it out, infinite versus the finite game. Infinite has clear winners and losers. It's like a sports match, right? Like the Super Bowl. We know who wins, we know who loses. The game is over. We wait and they have to go through it all again the next year. Versus infinite games, it's like the goal is to keep playing the game, is to keep improving. This is the game of life. This is the game of business. It's focused on long-term sustainability, growth, and resistance. So like, it's not necessarily, of course, you want all your metrics in your business to be able to see if the actions that you are taking, that you have a feedback loop and be like, is this the desired result? But you can't let that stop you there, right? Like you get your desired result with a marketing plan. It doesn't mean like you're like, okay, we're done. That's an infinite mindset, infinite game you're playing, or excuse me, finite game you're playing. I want you to transition that and go longer. Think long, sustainable, resilient, because you're going to have ups and downs when you're playing an infinite game. It's not like, okay, I'm the loser this one, I go on to the next one. You got to keep going. And, you know, the key idea essentially with the infinite game is that there's no endpoint. I mean, at 80 plus years old, Sam Zell was still playing the game, still going out there, still traveling the world, still talking, still learning, still doing all of these things. And he was such an advocate. I'm still in the midst of learning about Sam Zell. Like there's so much. But he's like, if you, there's an exact quote, I don't have it. I should. Maybe I'll put it out on social media. So make sure you're connected there that you can see it. Is just like, if you are continuing to learn and you're continuing to grow and you're continuing to play an infinite game, there's like no end. Why would you stop? And I just love that because, you know, recently I had an interview with somebody, we're growing our team. And this gentleman had an incredible experience, but right off, I knew he was playing finite games. And that's not what we have. That's not the culture that we have here. And so he's like, yeah, I'm, you know, just want to get with someone till I retire. Like he has an endpoint. And I'm like, that's not gonna fly for us. That's not how we work and how we problem solve and grow the company. Now, what's neat about it is having that, playing those infinite games, you have to have a beginner's mindset. When you think about it, if you're truly playing infinite games, you cannot have one without the other. That beginner's mindset is essential to playing infinite games. It encourages the long-term growth. It avoids, like helps you avoid complacency. It can keep you as an entrepreneur, right? Or even someone that's trying to grow in their company. There are so many opportunities in companies. And if your company doesn't have one, I suggest you move on. The world will be okay, I promise. Is that you don't want to be trapped in short-term thinking. If you find yourself trapped in short-term thinking, know that that's a trigger like, oh, I could be in a position where I'm playing a finite game. So that infinite mindset, the beginner's mindset, it helps leaders, businesses stay competitive and adapt to change. And truly, with AI and with everything that is going on in our global economy, if you are not able to change and grow, that's a quick death. So let's talk about this just real quick. I'm kind of coming to the end here. Don't worry. I have those questions for you that I want you to reflect on. But Sam said one thing, and he said many things, but one of the quotes that I want to reference here, I just think it's like a good reminder to come back to, is that he says you cannot live an extraordinary life without fear. You cannot live an extraordinary life without fear. And it goes on, like, when you think about it and you think about that beginner's mindset, right? Really what Sam is saying is that fear to him should not, fear to him was not like a stop, something scary, it's risky, don't do it. Make sure you have all your T's crossed and your I's dotted before you move forward. He looked at fear as the motivator. He totally reframed his idea behind fear. And so having that beginning mindset means that you're accepting fear and discomfort because that's what comes with growth and success. So it's just like if you are leading a team, bringing on someone new, that can be fearful. Entrepreneur, you have to embrace uncertainty to thrive. You have to. If you are not embracing that uncertainty, that is, you're having a finite game. You're letting fear be the barrier to the growth that you could have. And so just to bring it all back to the three kind of concepts that I'm talking about is number one, that beginner's mindset. Just remember, like, this is someone who's continuously learning. You're open to new ideas. You're embracing uncertainty, right? Fear is your motivator, and curiosity. When's the last time you got curious? Think about it, right? Think about your kids. If you have kids, like when they're curious about something, they go all in. When's the last time you were like that? So that beginner's mindset. Then we have that finite mindset or the finite games, okay? You're focused on short-term wins. It's kind of rigid in the process. You know what the key players are, what their roles are, and that's it. And you're most definitely in a finite mindset if you are risk adverse. And then the last one is that infinite mindset. So you're focused on the long-term game. You're talking long-term goals. You're adaptable. You're resilient. You're committed to continuous improvement, right? I don't ever want to stop learning. I truly had one of the biggest failures of my career was in 2019. Turned out to be one of the blessings because we all know what happened in 2020. But the biggest I've had many failures. One of the largest, most financial and most like gut wrenching failures I had is when I had to shut down my restaurant. There's more on that. I'm not going to get into it, but yeah, failed. That was hard. But man, it has changed who I was today or who I am today. If I didn't have that opportunity to learn those hard lessons and the good lessons, being able to build this team, lead this team, work more hours than I think I ever wanted. I needed all of that. And now that has transitioned into how we are playing the game and growing our commercial construction company. We are definitely 100% playing an infinite game. So just wanted to give you kind of the perspective here because this is a lot of information. I'm going to leave some links to a book, to a couple podcasts that I recommend listening to. Of course, don't forget, if you are here on this podcast and you haven't left a review, please do, because that's how this message and this podcast grows. It's truly organic by all of you, and I cannot thank you enough. So don't forget, hit that little 5-star review, write something, should take less than 10 seconds, and then share it out on social media. But let's get down to kind of the action, because this show is about taking all kinds of action. And so when you start thinking about kind of these three different mindsets and being able to do it, I always find reflective questions are the best to just kind of challenge your way of thinking. And I like to do this very personally. This is something that I do by myself. And either I read the question and I type out my answer, I'll voice note it, have, some type of AI, be able to transcribe it for me. I will stop myself. You'll start noticing yourself in certain situations so that you can be like, wait, whoa, how am I thinking about this right now? Like, one thing for us, for Chris and I, is that we truly embrace challenges and setbacks. They suck. I'm not like, oh, yay, another setback. Awesome. No, but we look at them and we're like, all right, what do we learn? How are we going to change? What do we need to do next? Right? So I don't look at failures at all like a failure. And I know people want to be like, oh, it's a setback and make it nice. No, it's a failure. You screwed up. Something happened. It didn't work how you wanted. Great. What can we do now so that we can ensure this won't happen again? And one of the things that Chris and I have really done as far as like with our business and creating more of an infinite mindset, and I talk about this all the time on social, so I hope you connect with me there, is that infinite mindset. We think in decades now. So a lot of the decisions that we make in the business are decade decisions. When you think in a decade versus a year, the way in which you solve the problems and make decisions completely changes. So having that infinite mindset, like we will feel if we are making too short term of a decision and then challenge it with how we would think about this from a decade out, what we would want to look about, what we would want it to look like. All right, enough of that. Let's go into these. I have 4 questions for you. I try to get down to 3, but honestly, you get 4. Random number. I typically do everything in threes. I'm going to leave you with these 4 questions. I will make sure that we get these questions in the notes and you can use it to refer to, save the episode, whatever it is. Shoot me a DM if you want to. I will send you these 4 questions in a DM, Instagram and or LinkedIn. These are, you got to have like a referral point to come back to be able to challenge yourself. If we're going to grow, we have to kind of go through the muddy water to get there. And if you are going to have this, these are to help you see things through a beginner's mindset. All right. Number 1, when faced with a new challenge, do you approach it with curiosity and a willingness to learn? Or do you rely on past experiences and stick to what you know? AKA, this is the way we've always done it. Okay. Number 2, how comfortable am I with saying, I don't know, or I need help? Holy cow. If you've been in this show for a while, you know, this was one of the hardest things for me to do when I was back in corporate America. And I spent 16, 17 years in corporate America. Saying, I don't know was like a sign of weakness. Saying, I need help. Oh my gosh. Like you're the worst. You're getting fired. You're getting put on a PIP. I was always so terrified to be like, shoot, I don't know, that I would just be like, quiet, go research, and then be in the know, right? So like that was good to know. But I got to tell you right now, when I say I don't know or I need help, I actually look at that as a sign of strength. And I ask a ton of questions to understand whoever is the expert in that field so that I can apply it and learn. And then I dig in even deeper like I did on this episode here. So again, that question is, how comfortable am I with saying I don't know or I need help? Okay, number 3. When was the last time that you actively sought out new information, skills, or feedback that challenged your current way of thinking? I feel like the political landscape right now, this would be super interesting to ask a lot of people. We're not going to go politics, I promise. But isn't there politics in organizations? Hell yeah. I know my corporate America, it was a hell lot of a politicking, right? And the people that actually pat each other on the back are the ones that continue to move forward. And then you see these organizations kind of struggle and you wonder why. It's like, I know why, because everyone always does the same thing. So, how often are you actively seeking out new information, skills, or feedback that challenge the current way that you were thinking? And then the last question, number 4, is how do you respond when something doesn't go as planned? Do you see it as a failure or an opportunity to learn and improve? I got to tell you, I have had so many failures and they've been shameful. They've been hard. They've been financially challenging. They've been all of the above. And I didn't always see a failure as a learning opportunity. I know I talk about it a lot on the show and my socials, like, oh, yay, another learning opportunity. Everything's good. Failure sucks in 100% of the way, but you wouldn't learn that lesson without the failures. And so the failure is that opportunity to learn and improve. And taking risk, moving forward, even when there is risk, having that beginner's mindset is how you learn those lessons that you never could. And so I leave you with these 4 questions today. And I want you to just reflect. My hope is that you reflect. These questions like these, listening to this show right now, reading these books, listening to other podcasts that you get from recommended sources, hopefully I'm one of those for you, that's how you grow. The coolest thing is, I'm telling you right now, I'm living proof. This show is living proof that you could have 100% mindset in one different way and you can change it. It's hard, but damn, it is so good. So I encourage you, I implore you, take the action. Do more of that action. Challenge yourself, see where you can grow, and face fear head on, just like Sam Zell did. Thanks again for tuning in. And don't forget, go take more action and get that beginner's mindset.